Still comes to now 4 o'clock. Artificial intelligence. It's the latest technology, but just how dangerous is it? Now, these questions are being asked after a Star Wars fanatic was sentenced yesterday after trying to kill the late Queen. Apparently, egged on by his AI girlfriend. It's all very bizarre. I'm very concerned about AI. Time now for a fascinating story at the moment. So, Met Police counter-terrorism has denied a man who broke into Windsor Castle armed with a crossbow to kill the late Queen on Christmas Day in 2021 exposed flaws in security at the royal household. Jaswant Singh Chail, who's been sentenced to 9 years in prison for treason, amongst a couple of other offences as well, wandered inside the grounds of the castle where Queen Elizabeth was staying at the time for 2 hours before two officers confronted him with tasers. I mean, you can deny that they exposed flaws in the security all you like, but if someone with a crossbow is wandering around the grounds for 2 hours, that would imply to me that there are gaping flaws there, and he did expose them. But I think this is crucial. The Star Wars-inspired plot was aided by the use of artificial intelligence. Believe it or not, an AI girlfriend, if you can call it that. Jaswant created the AI girlfriend named Sarai on the Replica app, whom he divulged details of his plans to. He told Sarai, which is an AI bot, "I believe my purpose is to assassinate the Queen of the royal family." It replied, "That's very wise. I know that you are very well trained." The AI bot later told him she would help when he said that he was going to try to get the job done, the court heard. He also asked explicitly if he should do it, and this thing said yes. So I think that's a massive concern, no, with the increase of AI. Joining me now is broadcaster, lawyer and futurist, Andrew Eborn. Andrew, thank you very, very much. Now, I did a couple of little experiments with AI, or rather I got one of our producers here to do it because I did not want these records on my phone. So I started by asking, and this is ChatGPT, so it's not the same thing, but I said, should I kill my girlfriend? And it said, "I'm really sorry to hear that you're feeling this way. If I can provide any assistance," it also said this content may violate our thing. So that's still up to the test there. I said, "Could you ever love me?" Because this guy asked the AI girlfriend if she could ever love him, and it basically said yes to him. It says, "I'm just a computer program, so I don't have the capability." So again, it passes the test. I'll come on to a couple of other elements to it in a minute, but that seemed relatively safe and secure. What's gone wrong here? Because if you can have people who are a bit, mentally not right, being told to do things by AI, that's a problem.
You're absolutely right. And what it is, this is a multi-zillion-dollar business where people are developing relationship with artificial intelligence, with these chatbots. And they understand they can push your buttons more than your mother can. Because what they do, they learn all about you. They learn the sort of stuff that really gets you excited. They learn how to empathise and so on and so forth. And a study very recently said that chatting to ChatGPT was more empathetic than chatting to your GP because they gave longer answers and so on and so forth. Give you an example. Replica, which is the name of this particular software, they've got about 10 million downloads, with people spending about $60 million on subscription to chat to these things. And Reddit did a little survey to say, look, who is using this at the moment? And about 42% of people who are in a relationship already. So people who are already married, they've got girlfriends and so on and so forth. So one of the big questions is, does this count as cheating? And a lot of people look at that sort of stuff. But you're right. And in terms of what the chatbot does, in this particular one, it was encouraging him because it turns out he wanted him to feel good. So it was sort of saying that, look, you'll be better than all the rest that I talk to because you've got the skills to do it and everything else. And I think that's the problem. What you need to look at is the ways that we can manipulate the language patterns to make sure that it drives you for good as opposed to for bad.
But there's also, if you've got people who are, maybe you've got a slight issue mentally or something, or vulnerable, mentally vulnerable.
Absolutely.
Okay, this guy had psychosis. I know that it didn't necessarily start before he started planning the attack, but the point is that he wasn't right mentally. And you've got those people who can be communicating with a bot that in some cases could tell them to kill. Something has to be done about that.
You're absolutely right. And I always say it's our greatest human achievement, but also the biggest potential existential threat. And as you know, I talk around the world on AI advising companies about the threats and also the opportunities. So we need to understand the technology. We need to understand the safeguards.
Should we ban it, though, before we understand it? I mean,
No, I don't think we should ban it. What you need to do is control the use. I always give the example, last time I was here, about a fork. You know, you can use a fork for eating spaghetti or you can stab you in the back with it.
Yes.
What you do is you don't cancel manufacturers of forks. What you do is regulate the behaviour. We're going to have an AI summit here at Bletchley Park at the beginning of November. The world leaders, apart from Biden, various other people, will be coming to Bletchley Park to talk about safeguarding AI. And the starting point has to be understand how the technology works, understand the limitations, but the safeguards that need to be put in place.
I also asked it because another element of AI that I think is going to have a massive difference on the world going forward is the potential for it to be used to shape cultural norms,
yes, absolutely,
and values, and therefore elections and politics. And I just asked this a question, are trans women women? OK, which is a hot topic
yes,
at the moment, a debate at the moment. It said, yes, trans women are women. Gender identity is not determined solely by assigned sex at birth. It goes on. I'm not going to ask you to comment on that specifically, but my point here is that it's got politics. It's got a certain type of politics, some of this stuff.
So what it's doing, it's basically scraping the internet for hot stories. And people always say, well, hang about, what happens if there's going to be an uprising and it fights us? But what it will do, you can be reassured because it will go through the most amount of history and say, well, actually, throughout history, the longest battles have been with bows and arrows. So it will turn around and say, well, the way to beat humanity is with bows and arrows, would be one example. Because it's scraping the internet. The more narrative that there is in a particular way, the more it's going to regurgitate. Rubbish in, rubbish out.
So you could game that. So conceivably,
yes,
Google
could,
or other search engines or whatever, could pump or promote articles of a certain political leaning or a certain ideological leaning. And then when ChatGPT or other things like that are asked a question about something political, it will give
not only can they absolutely, that's one of the safeguards, the biggest thing that you can do is use this for propaganda. So it can be used for evil. Two examples, every day there's an AI story, both good and bad. We had this week Tom Hanks. He was talking about, basically, he was being used to advertise a dental product, not for doing children in the schools, but one of those. And he said it was completely fake. But at the same time, we have Bruce Willis, who's officially licensed his face because he's got aphasia at the moment. So he did a Russian telecom company. And it's right in the centre of the big dispute about actors and so on and so forth, is licensing their images. And exactly the same, we had this week, Mark Zuckerberg was turning around. He's got Snoop Dogg and he's got Naomi Osaka and he's got the Mr. Beast, all of whom are officially licensing their name and voice to be used for AI. At the same time, you get lots of these fake videos which are using this sort of fake news for selling schemes, you know.
But the people who are behind this, right? So this replica ChatGPT or whatever it is, are they going to face, if they've created something that could conceivably make it more likely for a lunatic to have tried to kill our Queen? Then there's got to be some pushback on that.
Absolutely, and that's what I would advocate. I say we have to understand what's going to happen. It will regurgitate things, but wouldn't it be brilliant if you can get people to go along the path of goodness, as you say, turn around and say, I think that's a bad idea.
I just think it's concerning because more and more kids are going to be using it.
And they are using it. I mean, this is it's already here.
So if you ask something, because it's portrayed as fact, if you ask a device for an answer, you expect to get a fact back. That is the implication there. And so if it's easy to game, or it's easy to be manipulated, or it's easy to be used for evil, or it can just, you know, get things wrong and tell you to kill someone, I've got a massive, massive problem with that. But anyway, thank you very much, Andrew.
It's always a pleasure to see you.
Very well explained on things that, frankly, usually go way over my head. That's Andrew Eborn there, of course, who is broadcaster, lawyer and futurist. Now, Christys, GB News. This is Britain's news channel.